Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Tiffany Blossom, and I am the coordinator of college recruitment and an admissions representative at the University of Maryland. You may know me or maybe not, because my recruitment territories do include Eastern Shore, Maryland, of course. I also cover Washington, D.C. public schools in Richmond and Tidewater, Virginia. I'm also a proud Maryland graduate myself and the assistant director of one of our vocal ensembles on campus. I'm really excited to share with you some great information that you may or may not know about the University of Maryland, including the application process and other things of that nature as well. So with that, let's get started. And I should be able to, will I be able to share my screen, the presentation? Awesome. Okay, can you all see this?
Yes, looks good. Looks great. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, great. Okay, so again, my name is Tiffany Blossom, admissions representative, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with our presentation for today. Okay, so first, I just want to talk about the lively campus that we have at the University of Maryland. I'm gonna give you some quick facts, some fun facts about the campus so you can get a better overview. You may already know about our institution, but in case you don't, you will now. So the University of Maryland was founded in 1856. It is the state flagship institution of Maryland, which is a fancy way of saying the most known university or most prominent university in the state. About 75% of our students are Maryland residents. We have a 1,350-acre campus. And it's just what you'd hope a university would look like. So our campus is filled with a canopy of beautiful trees. There are stately brick buildings and, of course, enthusiastic students that are on their way back and forth between classes. As you can see in this picture here, the snapshot. On our campus, we are built around a central, what we call mall. And that's anchored by McKeldin Library on one end and the main administration building on the other end. On campus, we have over 270 classroom buildings, 38 residence halls, and 8 libraries on our campus. This is one of my absolute favorite slides. It just gives you a brief overview. It's called Maryland by the Numbers, and it just talks about some of our distinctions. So our university is a world-class institution. We are recognized nationally, we're recognized internationally for our impressive distinctions, and a few of them are listed here on this slide. I'm going to point out just a few of them for you. So according to Kiplinger's Personal Finance, we are ranked 10th and 16th for best value for in-state students and out-of-state students among public colleges. We are also ranked 15th among all public institutions according to US News and World Report. And while those numbers don't tell the full UMD story, we're hopeful that you're able to learn more about our programs and our people and our resources that really help to create the culture of excellence that we have at the University of Maryland. Let's talk about our location and access, if you know where we're located. As the only public research university, we are inside the Washington, D.C. Beltway. We like to say that the University of Maryland can take you wherever you want to go. We are located just 10 miles from the US Capitol, within an easy drive to Baltimore and Annapolis, the state capital, not too far from you all either, about 2.5 hours or so. The College Park Metro station that we have is a simple walk from campus. It makes it easy for students to be in the heart of Washington, D.C. in less than 20 minutes, I'd say. We also are near about downtown Baltimore. That's about a 40-minute drive. And, you know, we have a vibrant inner harbor nearby in Baltimore, National Aquarium, top-notch restaurants, and endless shopping possibilities. There are also, of course, professional sport venues that are in Baltimore, D.C. If you're a sports fan like me, they're just a quick train ride or drive away. Additionally, you can easily drive to Philadelphia or New York City. And our campus is it's within 45 minutes of 3 major airports. So those would be BWI, Reagan National, and Washington Dulles. Okay, so I want to talk about our 12 schools and colleges. So through the University of Maryland, our students receive a high quality undergraduate education. On campus, there are over 100 majors to choose from, and that's from everything between accounting to animal sciences, computer engineering, world languages, and so there are tons of options. Now, I like to always add that it can be a lot of pressure when you're applying. You may not know exactly what you want to do. May not know exactly what major you want to choose, but that's okay. You may not know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. That's absolutely okay. So we also have undecided and undeclared students, and they always find a home at the University of Maryland in Letters and Sciences. And so in our Letters and Sciences program, those advisors will help them explore all the possibilities and pick a major by their second year. I also actually declared undecided because I just couldn't nail down exactly what I wanted to do. I was interested in music, communication, business, and I actually was able to do all three. Not major in all three, but majored in communication and did a minor in business and music. Okay, I want to talk about our limited enrollment programs. So we do have some programs that are listed here and also can be found at lep.umd.edu. And basically, these are called limited enrollment programs because they're exactly what they sound like. They have a strong reputation. They're highly sought after majors. And so we find it necessary to limit the enrollments to maintain the program quality. Now, that does not mean that if you are not admitted into the program when you apply, that you'll never be able to do that. It's just a certain gateway that we help you to get into the program. There are gateway requirements. So when you apply to the University of Maryland, we review you for general admission to the university first, but then there's another review process to determine your admission to your major of choice. And as I mentioned, if you don't get into that major of choice, if it happens to be like an LEP program and you're not initially admitted, we will help you gain entry into that major by your second year. I also want to talk quickly about being in the classroom, maybe a couple special experiences as well, different things that we have to offer, and then I will get right into that application process. So in the classroom, some people will think the University of Maryland is a big school, and it is a big school, but we have a really strong academic reputation, and we have endless opportunities for students to feel engaged in and outside of the classroom. I like to share a few of our highlights. So our student faculty ratio, that is 18:1. The classroom environment provides meaningful interactions between students and professors. And very few of our undergraduate courses have more than 100 students. And actually, once you're in your course, it actually breaks down even smaller. I know when I started, I did have a larger lecture hall, maybe about 250 people or so. It dwindled down to 100 and then to 50 and so. And I actually had, my smallest class was about 10 people because I was actually in what we call a living and learning program. So we do have a lot of special experiences on campus, research experiences, internships, both on and off campus. Education abroad is also available. We have service learning, and we also have the living and learning communities, which I spoke to you a little bit about. And that is just a community. I'm going to click to the next slide. A community of learners that they have different specializations, and these are usually invitation for your freshman year. So just to give an example, we'll have the Honors College, of course, College Park Scholars, and then we have other living and learning programs that are specifically tailored to what you may be studying. So for incoming freshmen that are interested in studying biological sciences or biochemistry or anything like that, maybe in a program called BioFire, which FIRE stands for First Innovation Research Experience. We also have what we call Civicus, which is a program for students that are interested in civic engagement and community service. And then we have Carillon Communities, which is a program I participated in, where students basically explore the big questions that matter to our world. All right, so the University of Maryland also takes pride in the diversity of our students. We embrace diversity in all facets of life, diversity of thought, gender, race, ethnicity, geography, religion, physical ability, and sexual orientation. Over 47% of our students are students of color. We have over 4,000 international students on campus. We represent over 110, I think, countries in our university community. And we also have over 800 student organizations, and that includes cultural, social, religious, political organizations, and a very vast, diverse student body. Students that are interested in professional degrees, law or medicine, can also find advising on campus. And as an undergraduate student, you make lifelong friendships. We have nearly 400,000 alumni, including myself, that are living around the globe. So we have an impressive alumni network that will help you stay connected as well, and different clubs all throughout the United States. Our prominent alumni include Sergey Brin, who is the co-founder of Google, Kevin Plank, who's the founder of Under Armour, Jim Henson, the creator of The Muppets, and Gayle King, the co-host of CBS's morning show, The Morning Show. So now that we've discussed many elements, just giving you a background of the University of Maryland and what makes it so special, I do want to take time to discuss the admissions process. And again, I know this process can be overwhelming, it can be complex, but I really hope to break it down for you today so that you leave here today knowing all the information you need to know to make becoming a TERP a reality. Okay, so as a highly ranked and internationally recognized research institution, the University of Maryland, we seek to enroll academically qualified individuals that possess the necessary skills to contribute to our global environment. So basically, our goal as an institution is to be the institution of choice for students of exceptional ability and exceptional promise. Our university is committed to building a meaningful and unique learning experience for all undergraduate students, and this means bringing students from a variety of backgrounds. As I mentioned, we are a diverse campus, so we look at backgrounds, talents, experiences, cultures, and interests, and different things that will just enhance our campus learning environment. Okay, so these are our 26 review factors. And our application review process is thorough and it's a holistic one. So that just means we read all of the information that's provided by the applicant, and I mean all of it. So we do consider all 26 different review factors that are listed here. These can also be found on our website. And of course, the factors that are most significant and they weigh most heavily are those that are academic in nature. It is important to know that in our process, we are looking to get to know as much as we can about you. So we fully recognize that you're more than just the letters on your transcripts or the numbers of your test scores. We want to know your background. We want to know who you are as a student, who you are as a person, and what opportunities you've had. We want to know how you've chosen to take advantage of those opportunities. And beyond that, we also want to know how you choose to spend your time outside of the classroom, how you engage in activities that further your growth, your own growth. So about 1/3 of these factors that you see here are academic in nature. So they include things like high school record, course rigor, trends in grades, class rank if available, recommendations, and standardized test scores. The other factors that are listed here are tied to our mission and they're valued at the university. These things include things like residency status or special talents and skills. They also include status as a first-generation college student, demonstrated leadership, ethnic diversity, geographic representation, and academic endeavors outside the classroom, as I mentioned. So these 26 factors here are by no means a checklist. It's more of a sliding scale. And all of these, again, are available on our website for you to reference. Let's talk about the Common App and the Standout College app. So as part of our commitment to access potential future TERPs, the University of Maryland is a member of the Common App, and this application platform allows students to seamlessly apply to any of its 900+ member institutions. The Common App can be accessed through our website, our admission website, admissions.umd.edu, or by visiting commonapp.org. Now, students also have the option to apply to the University of Maryland through the Standout College app, so the Standout Admissions Network. This tool includes a virtual locker. It allows students to have collaboration tools with advisors and counselors and mentors. And students can apply using either platform, either application platform, and they'll be given the same consideration regardless of their decision. Okay, let's discuss the application components. So basically, students will submit information that we will read and will evaluate in order to determine admissibility, for freshman applicants. The required materials include application, high school transcript, which indicates the rigor of coursework or the grades earned, GPA, And as you may know, the University of Maryland is a test optional institution. So that means students can make the best decision for their application process. And students who don't submit their test scores will not be at a disadvantage. So on your application, you will be able to indicate whether you want to be test optional or not. In the admission committee, we use a holistic full file review. So again, as I mentioned, the holistic approach and the 26 factors, that just means we'll consider all the factors of your application. I do like to mention that if you're submitting standardized test scores, we encourage the submission of all of your scores across SAT and ACT testing. We do accept the ACT and the SAT test scores, and what we do is we super score your test, meaning that we'll combine your highest scores within the same type of test in order to put you in the best light as possible. So you'll also see that we require letters of recommendation. So that will be one academic teacher and one counselor. We also have the essay and short answer responses and personal information. So we strongly encourage students to apply by what we call the early action deadline, which is November 1st, fall early action deadline. And that's so you can receive priority consideration for admission to the university, as well as consideration for merit-based scholarships and special programs. Now, it's important to know that this is early action, it's not early decision. So the University of Maryland, we do not have a binding deadline. So students that apply by the November 1st deadline, they'll receive their electronic admission decision by February 1st, and it is non-binding. I want to briefly discuss about financing your education as well. So the University of Maryland has a long tradition of providing financial support to students of all economic backgrounds through need-based financial aid. Financial aid is awarded strictly based on demonstrated need, which is found on the free application for federal student aid, commonly known as FAFSA. And FAFSA becomes available on October 1st of each year. The University of Maryland's priority deadline for FAFSA is January 1st. However, students don't need to wait to submit until you submit the application or your admission application before you complete FAFSA. In fact, we strongly encourage all students to submit their FAFSA as soon as possible, so no need to wait. And nearly 70% of our students receive some form of financial aid assistance, whether it's need-based or merit-based. So our merit-based scholarships are awarded to students based on academic merit without consideration of financial need. We focus our review on each student's academic performance in order to determine scholarship eligibility, which is curriculum or performance in the classroom. And only students that apply by November 1st are considered for merit scholarship awards, which range from $1,500 for the freshman year Dean Scholarship to our most prestigious award, which is the Banneker Key Scholarship. And that includes full tuition, room and board, books and fees for all 4 years. Okay, let's get to writing an essay. So in this, we're going to cover the importance of the college essay, how to select an essay question, tips for writing a strong essay, and sample sections of essays. Okay, so why do colleges require a personal essay? The personal essay allows the admission committee to learn more about the applicant. Put simply, it's an important opportunity for the committee to learn about your interests and experiences, or again, as I mentioned before, your outside activities list and the quantitative requirements, so academic transcript and test scores. The essay can also provide more information to the committee regarding if you would be the best fit for the university, as well as special programs. And lastly, the essay also determines the student's writing ability. It basically allows you to speak clearly about your goals, your experiences, and any extenuating circumstances. Let's talk about selecting an essay topic. And if you go to go.umd.edu/FAQs, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about this. But there are a few ways to find some essay prompts. And you can find the essay prompts through the following ways: standout application, as we covered, common application, and directly on a school's website if their application is not on either of these platforms. And again, if you visit this link, it is case sensitive, by the way, for a list of essay prompts you can use for your UMD application. Okay, let's talk about some ideas for what to write about. So some ideas that might help you determine what you should write about include, but are not limited to, the following. So travel experience, activities, sports, extracurricular activities, future plans and goals. You can talk about your family, defining moments, or even challenges or accomplishments. I always like to say, stick to the topic and be succinct in your response. Also, make sure that the essay response reflects the essay prompts that you have chosen. Okay, let's talk about some tips for writing a strong essay. So here are a couple of key things to remember as you write your essay. Write about your own experience. So you're competing with thousands of other applicants from all over the world. Last application season, we received over 50,000 applications and we read every single one of them. So you want to make sure that your content is very specific. So you would be surprised to see how many other students might have had very similar experiences as you. So it's very important that in the essay, you emphasize that this essay is about you and it's not about someone else. And it can be how you write in an essay, not what exactly. That's also important. Also, be original and have fun. This is not a research paper. We want to know about you. We want to know about your personality. Feel free to have a sense of humor, or feel free to talk about something that is of interest to you, that you're passionate about. Also, you want to catch the reader's attention. So we want to be caught, we want to be captured by what you're saying in the first few sentences. So make sure that it's capturing. Remember that admissions counselors are reading hundreds of applications and essays a week because we do have thousands to get to. So you want to make sure that yours is one to remember. Next, I would say be descriptive throughout your essay. So just make sure that you are including as much information as possible within the word limit that isn't like fluffy language. It isn't just words that you threw on the paper to fill the word limit or to fill up the page, but it's actually descriptive language that helps us understand more about what you're trying to communicate to us. Think about it as if you were trying to speak to the person directly. How would you communicate that to them? Because you know they're reading it. So I personally love to read applications that seem like almost a narrative in a sense, where I'm able to see a lot of different examples in the story, and I'm able to get a clear picture of what that is. Also, make sure someone else reads your essay. So this is so important to make sure that you catch any mistakes that you might have missed. I always say that double checking is the key. So you want to make sure that you reread your application and you reread your essay, and make sure that there are no errors, because that can be something that may take us off guard from what you're saying if there are a lot of grammatical errors in the piece itself. Now, we don't know when it's perfect, so sometimes things happen, but we do want to make sure that it's not consistent. There aren't consistent errors throughout. And to get started, create an outline, which will help you formulate your thoughts and stay organized. I always personally love to do a brain dump. When I'm about to write an essay or a paper, I think about the topic and I think about all the things I want to say in it first. After I come up with everything I want to say, then I kind of start putting it together as a puzzle piece, like puzzle pieces. So I put it together, it becomes one big puzzle, and I have all my thoughts there written down. So, for example, take a piece of paper or on the notes app on your phone and just begin to brainstorm ideas that you might have. Like I said, once you're done, once you have those ideas down on paper, try to narrow your list down to 1 to 2 topics and then begin to write. And remember, don't forget to revise your essay before submitting it. Your first draft is not your final draft. I always love to say that. Your first draft is never your final draft. It is just your first draft. So make sure that you do your first draft and then a second draft, a revision, and then maybe by the third draft, then you can submit it, and you'll be good to go. Okay, So things you should not do might be a little obvious, or maybe not, but do not let someone else write your essay. And again, you do not need to add fluff. Many essays do have a word count, so make sure that you get straight to the point so that you do not exceed that word count. Also, you most certainly, as I mentioned, don't want to make grammar mistakes because this doesn't look good on paper. And you don't want to write about the wrong school or accidentally submit the wrong essay to the wrong school. So always make sure that you research the university that you're applying to. If it's University of Maryland, make sure it's University of Maryland College Park, not University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Baltimore County. We are separate entities, and that is really an eyesore. So we really do pay attention to that as well. Okay, now ask yourself, a few questions that I like to ask myself as I'm reading an essay are the following. And if you answer yes to these questions as you read throughout your essay, then you have a solid essay to submit. So does this catch my attention within the first few sentences? As I mentioned, you always want to catch the reader's attention right away. You want to grab their attention. Number two, does this have one or two solid thoughts, or is it just a lot of different sporadic kind of different thoughts or different sentences kind of thrown together? Does it actually tell a story? Next, does this show or describe rather than tell? So again, we love it to be descriptive and to really show whatever you're talking about, to describe it rather than just to tell us what you did. So I did this, but how did you do it? Or, you know, I led a club or a group. I led a club or a group or an organization, and this is what we did, and give an example of what that may be. And then last but not least, is this an original essay? So we do want to make sure that you are writing the essay yourself and that it is original works, that there is no copywriting or anything of that nature that could jeopardize your application or your essay. Okay, so I do want to share this first sample, and this is the sample essay. Here are some sample essays, and I do want to walk through them together with you. And I just want you to think to yourselves, and I don't know if you are able to utilize the chat or not, but just think about these questions and how you would answer them. So, it is barely dawn and a fleet of nurses burst into the patient's room. One grabs the child's arm while another sticks a needle and begins drawing a blood sample. Completing the morning routine, another member of the team continuously presses buttons on a machine to check the vitals. A tray of pills is placed in front of a groggy child who stirs when offered a glass of water. This is just another typical day in the life of a sick youngster, constrained to a hospital bed, restricted from outside play, and tethered to IV poles. Now, imagine this child who is enduring a battle with cancer, being able to power through because a powerful surprise appears on the horizon. Making Walk for Wishes a passionate priority, I am so grateful I was given the opportunity to participate in fundraising for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Many children with severe illnesses could either be transported to Disney World or meet their favorite professional athlete. My heart never fails to melt when my team of classmates and I reach a milestone fundraising goal. I know that we will keep hope alive for youth who deal with frightening diagnoses. So I want you to think about some of these questions. The first one is, think about what stands out to you about the applicant. So when you're reading this, is there anything that you see on the screen or that you heard that stands out to you? I know personally for me, when reading this, I'm like, wow, this person just told a story that really allowed me to understand what they went through or what they're talking about. And they're basically talking about how they had the opportunity to fundraise for the Make-A-Wish Foundation for a child or who had an experience like the one they described in the first paragraph. The second question is, what did you learn about the student's interest in the university? From reading this, I personally, as an admissions representative, if I were reading this application, I could learn that this student has a heart And that is something that we truly value at the university, has a heart and a passion for volunteering, for fundraising, and for helping others. And so many children, as they said, with severe illnesses, aren't able to experience life to the fullest. They said, my heart never fails to melt when we reach a milestone fundraising goal. That shows that they really care and they're really passionate for their community and for other people. And that's very, very important. The last sentence even says, I know that we will keep hope alive for youth who deal with frightening diagnoses. The third question is, what qualities will the student be able to bring to the university? So what might you think that the student can bring to the university? What qualities, what's about them? Similar to what I said for the last answer, I would say that this person is passionate. This person has a heart to volunteer, to give back to the community. I could even see this person leading the Make-A-Wish Foundation on our campus, or leading the fundraising efforts for that. I could see this person starting up a club or an organization to fundraise and support students who are dealing with other diagnoses, or I could even see this student volunteering in the health center. So I see a student like this on campus really being a leader, really thriving in the university. And if they were interested in, doesn't even matter what major that they may be choosing, I could just see this student really thriving on our university because of their volunteerism, because what they're doing outside of the classroom, which I mentioned before, that we'd love to know what you do outside of the classroom. And lastly, what can a university benefit from having a student like this one on campus? As I mentioned, I could see this student being a clear-cut leader. I think that this student would add a lot to our university, that this student would be a leader that could help raise other leaders, that could be an example for other people, and really that this student could just continue to volunteer and fundraise in their own ways, create an organization, whatever major that they're studying or whatever their studies may be, they will be definitely adding to it. I have one more sample for you. And so I'll read this one. I try to read it a little. I know we may be running out of time here. So, Dora the Explorer used to define me. As a child, I would be in awe of Dora's adventures, teaching her viewers common Spanish words and phrases. I watched Dora in admiration because she looked like me. She was my representation on television, giving me agency among my peers. Being brown and fluent in Spanish, I was Dora to them. And in my mind, I became Dora to appease my peers and be accepted in American society. So I watched Dora. I bought the backpacks and dolls. And when I outgrew those, whether I knew it or not, I continued playing Dora. As I grew up, I began to notice the systemic racism around me, the normalized stereotypes and generalizations, simplified and threatened my identity. When I looked inside of me, I noticed my identity boiled down to a concentrate. I found myself having to explain my identity to those I had known for years, justifying my complex background, how my white Argentine father and brown Indo-Caribbean Guyanese mother mixed, creating my brown Indian skin color in Spanish vernacular. The constant explanations always resulted in a response that haunts me up today, excuse me. So that's why you're brown, my friends would say. Had letting those around me think I was Dora erased my ability to acknowledge my Indo-Caribbean half? So I would just ask you, I know we're running short on time here, but to think about the same questions that I shared with you. If you like, feel free to take a screenshot of this sample and think about the different ways. Here are the questions, I'll read them to you again. Think about what stands out to you about the applicant. What did you learn about the student's interest in the university? What qualities will the student be able to bring to the university? And what can the university benefit from having a student like this one on campus? And if I were to give a brief answer to those, I would say what stands out to me about this applicant is that she is bold and fearless. This person went through a lot, had to deal with systemic racism and stereotypes and generalizations, and you can tell that this person is strong. And so I would definitely say that that's what stands out to me about the applicant, that no matter how their background may have been or no matter what they went through, they are courageous enough and strong enough to apply to such an institution like the University of Maryland. And that speaks a lot of volume to me. In terms of learning about the student's interest in the university, I could see this person wanting to go against the norm in a sense, to hopefully be able to grow in who this person is. The University of Maryland, as I mentioned, is a very diverse campus. So she would definitely be able to fit in our campus and be able to find her own niche, find her own group, and then also to be able to thrive with all the different groups and organizations we have on our diverse campus, where we don't tolerate such things. In terms of what qualities will the student be able to bring to the university? Again, as I mentioned, just being powerful, being strong, having overcome adversity, and just being able to not let those around her, as she said in the last line, erase her ability to acknowledge who she is, to not lose herself. This was a great, another sample essay. And lastly, what can the university benefit from having a student like this one on campus? As I mentioned kind of before, that this would be another leader that I would see on campus. We would definitely benefit from someone like this who has overcome adversity, who has overcome the real world and the challenges that are out there, and to be able to shine on our campus, to become a leader of, as she mentioned, she was accepted into American society, and not forget her identity or not forget who she became or who she is. And so we think that that is really important. Also, because I want to mention, because of this essay, and being able to know more about the student and what they went through, we would probably recommend in our review that this could possibly be, we would recommend them into one of our certain programs that we may have to support students who have gone through such issues, and to make sure that they are equipped with the resources that they need to be successful at the university. So I know that was a lot of information. I did have another sample, but almost coming to the 7:30 hour. So I do want to just thank you all for joining me today and learning more about the University of Maryland, the application process, the college essay. I do hope that you were able to learn some new helpful tips as you're approaching brainstorming and things of that nature. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us at applymaryland@umd.edu. And we will get back to you with more information. So thank you so much.
Tiffany, thank you very much. If our parents have a few questions, and students, can they ask you some questions for a few minutes?
Absolutely, yes.
If you have a question for Tiffany, you can unmute and ask her a question. One of the things, Tiffany, I was wondering about was you had the list of the 26 factors of things that the University of Maryland College Park considers. So when they're reviewing applications, are these things that you think other schools, other colleges and universities will also be considering?
Great question, Beth. Thank you. So yes, I do think other colleges and other schools do consider similar factors. These are our tailored 26 review factors. So they may have some similar ones. They may have a different list, but generally the ones that I mentioned are academic in nature, are definitely ones that majority of my colleagues from other institutions do look at. So I could say you could use it generally as well.
Okay. Another question. You had talked about the process that you go through at the University of Maryland College Park as far as reviewing the applications and, the process in general. Do you think, is that a similar process as to what other colleges and universities would also be going through as they're reviewing applications?
Absolutely. So you're talking about the actual application process itself, or can you kind of repeat the latter half of your question?
I was just wondering if it's similar to if other schools would follow a similar process as what you use at the University of Maryland.
Yes, absolutely. So again, we do have our, kind of tailored per university, but we also follow kind of general guidelines. We all look at some of the same things. I have served on panels before with other colleagues and love to hear them say, yep, we do the same thing over here at Towson, or we do the same thing wherever they may be. So I would definitely say the tips that I shared would be things that you can generally apply and how we review applications as well and what we look for.
Okay, and you had also mentioned that you will super score the SAT scores, meaning that you'll take the best scores and combine them. Do you find that a lot of other colleges and universities also do the super score?
I wouldn't say every college or university does super score, but a lot of them do. Nowadays we do want to put everyone, all the students in the best light as possible. So those that are test optional, again, some schools are test optional, some schools aren't. We are through, I think, 2023, possibly. But we do look at the super score. We do super score test scores as well as other institutions that are kind of in the university system in Maryland is what I've heard. That's how we usually take those. So.
Okay, great. So then students, as they're looking at the requirements for whether it's the University of Maryland College Park or Salisbury University or another college or university, they need to look at their requirements and it would be listed there for them.
Exactly. Yes. So I just focus on each university's kind of tailor what they have on their admissions website, and it'll tell you usually their breakdown on how they review if they're test optional and what they suggest would be listed there as well.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Tiffany before she leaves our meeting?
I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, so I'm in high school, but this question's like about college. Do we have to do like activities such as clubs or sports? Or if we don't do it, does that affect our college year or does it apply to college?
Great question. So when you say affect, we obviously do look at your activities and if you are doing things outside of the classroom, which can only help if you're able to juggle and manage, and we're seeing all A's and B's on your transcripts, and you're also talking about the other activities you're involved in. But if you're not doing other activities outside of the classroom, I wouldn't say it's held against you in any way. But you have to be mindful of the amount of students that we have applying to the university. So if we were to see someone that is doing something as similar as you are, but is also doing, the extracurricular activities, that would put that person maybe in a brighter light in a sense. Depends on the background as well and, things of that nature. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions for Tiffany? Tiffany will be joining us at our college boot camp on September 30th. She will be one of the admissions counselors on our panel discussion.
I have a question about the ACT. Will UMD still be test optional for the 2024-2025 school year?
That's a great question as well. We are looking to continue to be test optional. We have not released anything public yet for that school year, but as it looks right now, we are remaining test optional, at least through 2023, possibly 2024, so 2025 as well. So stay tuned for that information to be released publicly, though.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Beth,
Great, thank you.
One last, I think I saw another question. I opened the chat. I don't know. I saw a question in the chat. I'm happy to answer this last one.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Takim said, do I have to write down different essays for different colleges? And just to remind you, the common application, if you look at that online, sometimes or usually, since we are all part of that, we'll have a general kind of prompt at the top of that for the common application that you would answer. And then just be mindful if the university or institution is asking for an additional or supplemental essay. So for us, it's listed in the portal, and then you do have that link I shared before, or if you go back online to our admissions website, you'll be able to find the essay prompts. So I hope that answered that.
Great, thank you. Great question also.
Thank you so
Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us tonight.